All right. Hey guys, good morning. We apologize. We've had some technical difficulties. That's the challenge of streaming live, but we're so happy to have you here with us this morning on the COVID-19 care conversation. We are jumping into a conversation with folks from the Honolulu Board of Realtors. We want to talk about a headline we saw yesterday, just a huge decline of reported sales for the month of May. But it's not all bad news as far as we understand. We want to welcome Suzanne Young and Tricia Nekota. Thank you so much for being here, ladies. And if you could tell us, Suzanne, we'll start with you. Those numbers made for a pretty surprising headline yesterday. But tell us what more there is behind those numbers.
Yes, as we expected, we were going to see a decline due to the stay-at-home orders for April and May. And April certainly was the start of the worst of it. But I think the good news is that all of the indicators are trending back positive. So people who have taken their properties off the market, people who've canceled escrows, you're starting to see that recover. And so I think Tricia has, as our president and active realtor, she can give you a pulse of what actually is going on in the industry right now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Just as Suzanne said, in the beginning when the stay-at-home work order, and the pandemic, hit us, it impacted our market and real estate was on pause. Lately, though, the activity has certainly picked up. And this in large has to do with, how people are outside looking in and how they're feeling. They're feeling a sense of more confidence, a confidence in that like our economy is starting to recover. And so when people start seeing things reopening up, they will also feel like, okay, I feel good about this. So hence the reason why properties that were taken temporarily off the market are coming back on. It's we are seeing, more activity, more buyers out there, more sellers feeling again confident in the market at this time.
Suzanne, I want to ask you, we've seen, of course, over the years, Hawaii's real estate market, just the prices continuing to go up and up and up. Cost of living, of course, one of the highest here in the state of Hawaii. Do you think something like this, a pandemic, may cause some of those prices to go down? And are we seeing any sort of fluctuation in the overall median prices for homes and condominiums because of the impact of this overall pandemic?
Actually, I think it's the same problem that we have had before COVID. Hawaii has a lack of inventory, and that's happening around the country as well. But this just made it more challenging when people took their properties off the market, right? And that's basic supply and demand. When you have fewer properties that are available, the prices go up. So while the sales volume, the number of sales has gone down, the median prices are still going up. So we need our elected officials to, in any way that they can, help increase the inventory that's out there. And I think we're doing our part as realtors to give, as Tricia said, confidence to the sellers and the buyers out there. And, we've had studies on the national level that have shown that consumer confidence is there. With the safety precautions. So we just had our emergency order just allowed open houses this past Sunday. So anybody who was out there in the market saw that people were wearing face masks, no more than 10 people allowed at a time, social distancing, hand sanitizers, all of those things are what we know are giving confidence to buyers and sellers that they can get back out there. And I think now is a perfect time. Those interest rates are historically low. So this is a great time for anyone who is able to buy to go ahead and do so.
Tricia, what have those open houses been like? I know that I'm sure there are a lot of you and your colleagues were itching to get back to work. There has to be some trepidation also on the part of the homeowner to open their home to that kind of traffic. How has that changed? I know you've only had one weekend, but tell us about it.
No, actually, we did have a robust amount of public open houses. Yes, realtors were definitely wanting to showcase their properties to the public, but keeping health and safety a top priority, as Suzanne has said, um, if owners do have reservations, and realtors do as well, I will be honest, this is
Mhm.
why we can use the technology in the best way, shape, and form. We have live virtual tours that are still available via Zoom, Instagram, FaceTime. They can do all of these things to really satisfy the needs of their maybe concerns of their owners. And showcase the home in that manner as well. So there's that technology availability still. We like to call this time definitely and moving forward a hybrid model where we will use, the traditional open house style and method, but also incorporate those technology virtual open houses that a lot of people do certainly appreciate during this time where they might feel still very cautious, with just opening up their doors.
Suzanne, one of the things that, of course, not everyone in Hawaii can do is afford a house. And so many people have to go into renting and going down that path. What have you heard from the renting side? Because we know that, real estate is not only about, buying
Right.
homes, but it's also about property management as well. What sort of things are you hearing on the renters end? Because we have heard that some people are just struggling to pay
Sure.
rent because they don't have a paycheck now.
Sure. So we ran some flash surveys starting in April with our property managers representing over 20,000 rental units here on Oahu. And what we found is the majority of renters have been, finding a way to pay. And a lot of the renters were relying on unemployment insurance. So it was important for the state to get the unemployment insurance checks out to our renter communities out there. But there are a lot of resources out there. And so for those who are still struggling, the advice that we're giving is pick up the phone, call the property manager, call your landlord, don't wait. There are a number of resources out there. The Honolulu Board of REALTORS gave $20,000 each to Catholic Charities, Hawaiian Community Assets, and Domestic Violence Action Center. All of these are helping house folks and provide financial resources to those who are in need. And on our website, highcentral.com, consumers can go to our COVID resources, and there's all of the links that they can go to with information on financial assistance for renters. Really important that they reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Tricia, what kind of buyers are you seeing in the market right now? The lockdown happened March 25th. Have you seen a significant shift in who is actually looking for a home?
For myself personally, it's been a lot of first-time home buyers still out there. They weathering out, they're being strong, they put on their armor, they're ready to kind of be out there and take advantage of these record low mortgage rates. But I also have seen a lot of people who are stepping up, buying something bigger, more suitable for their family. There is certainly a diverse, group of buyers out there. So I wouldn't quite say that there's just one type of buyer. Certainly, the market caters to, a diversity of groups.
And to follow up on that point, Tricia, I mean, we are seeing a lot of people refinancing their homes because of those record low mortgage interest rates, as you spoke about. How has that sort of maybe impacted your process? Because we are hearing of these longer wait times potentially because of the overload of so many people who want to take advantage of that low interest rate.
Absolutely. So, refinance, that arena certainly has taken off. A lot of, homeowners are taking advantage, like you said, of the low interest rates. And so, on a buyer's side, although, lending industries are placing, purchases as a priority, obviously, I just want to, a normal close time frame is 45 days. Sometimes it can take a little longer due to these unexpected delays, just because some lenders are inundated with so many loans that are happening. So just want to prepare the buyers out there and even the sellers that it might take a little bit of time, a little bit longer to actually get the property sold. It's all happening, sales are closing, but it just might take a little longer.
We always like to bring in the audience. Cyrus wants to know what the average price point is for a single family home. He's giving us specific bed and bath questions, but I am interested to know the median price of a condo and of a single family home, and how you expect that to change in the coming months. Suzanne, if you could answer that one.
Actually, I think Tricia has the
Tricia might have the numbers. Yeah,
sorry.
please go ahead. Sorry, no.
No, it's okay. So I didn't know who you wanted. So the actual median sales price of a single family home is $797,000, and I'll throw out the condos as well. Median sales price for condos are $399,000. As far as what we are seeing, we don't anticipate prices to come crashing down anytime soon, because remember, it's all relative to inventory. We don't have a lot of it. What we are seeing out there in particular neighborhoods, and there are many, there is still multiple offers that are being presented at one time for a property. So, that's again just kind of giving an indication of what our market is like. We don't see the prices coming down, and people are still out there because property inventory is shrunken. There's not a lot of inventory out there for buyers to be, taking a look at. So that's why you have a multiple offer scenario most of the time.
Suzanne, I had a question also for you about the foreign and perhaps mainland buyers. Because we have this 14-day quarantine, there obviously aren't a lot of visitors coming to tour properties. There's always this perception that, all the property is being gobbled up from people who are outside of Hawaii. What is the influence of the sort of non-resident buyer? And now that we don't have them coming as much, how has that impacted the realtors?
I think we're certainly seeing that impact. In particular, the Waikiki condo market was impacted, and that's why the sales are so low. A lot of it has to do with the Waikiki condo market dropping. But I think that one of the other things that's attractive about Hawaii is we are safe. Clearly, we have weathered coronavirus, and so we are becoming an attractive place for people to buy that second home, anticipating if there's another pandemic, where would they want to go? Not a lot, and our residents shouldn't get alarmed that we're going to see this huge influx of outside residents or outside folks coming in, but it certainly is an area that folks are considering. Now, with respect to the quarantine, there are individuals who are, of course, they have to wait out the 14 days. So we have escrow transactions that are in escrow right now, where agents are having to work with the clients that are coming here because they have to be able to have a place to stay for that 14-day quarantine before they can conclude the sale that's going on. So it's getting a little bit tricky.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the other questions that I had, Suzanne, is when we're talking about COVID-19, especially when it comes to the economy, there's so much comparison, and we're hearing a lot to the recession that happened, back in 2008 and during that time, and people are comparing, just the overall impact that it has had to the economy overall. Some saying this is much worse, but it sounds like in regards to the real estate market, it is not obviously having as significant of an impact with as it did back in the recession, because of it directly impacted sales of homes. How would you compare maybe that, if there is any comparison, to what we're experiencing now, and not only me not here locally, but just globally, and what we're seeing with the recession and those numbers as it relates to real estate?
Yeah, we've had some studies on the national level, and the indication is that sellers and buyers we had a very strong market pre-COVID. We were in a very, very good market, and the numbers were proving to be very, very great for 2020. What we're seeing in the surveys for buyers and sellers out there is 75% of buyers and sellers are ready to get back into the market within a 2 to 3 month time frame from when the stay-at-home orders are lifted. So that is a healthy number of people really feeling comfortable that they can get back in to the market. That said, though, I think people will be a little more cautious of whether or not their financial situation allows them to be able to buy. So we do think that that may have, some impact on the volume of sales activity that we have. But it is a different situation than the 2008 recession, because that was financially based. And that had a lot of folks who had mortgages that were not, well done, if you will. And this is a totally different situation. And I think one of the key indicators that we have are the historically low mortgage interest rates. The buying power of consumers is so much greater. And one thing I want to just remind everybody, those median prices can be pretty scary for first-time home buyers to hear 700 and something, like, oh, I could never afford that. But remember, that's just the median, and we have available homes at all price points, and sales are happening in every price point. So it's best for them to reach out, get pre-qualified for sure, and start their home search online.
Tricia, if folks are wanting to head out to an open house this weekend, should they call the house that they want to look at ahead of time? What is the protocol now, or is it the same as always, that you just sort of show up and you wait outside, make sure there's not 10 people in the house? How should buyers go about actually going to see these open houses?
So first and foremost, they need to know where the open houses are, right? So going to our website is a great start. highcentral.com will provide them with a list of all the open houses that are available. And I think that if they were cautious, they could call their realtor and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this house. What do you recommend? I actually toured with my client over the weekend, and we did go through some open houses. There were some realtors that already had signs at the door like stop here, wait here. I do know of realtors that actually did put the arrows on the, sidewalks to keep parties safely 6 feet apart from each other. I do know of others that were sitting outside of the home to make sure that they could control the amount of people going in and out. When I approached one property in particular, my client and I, myself and 3 others, so we were a party of 4. I could hear people in the home. And so I waited and I peekabooed and I could see the realtor engaging, right? So I let her see me, and then she came out. And I said, is it okay for us to come in? Are you at your max 10 people? We can wait until you give me the thumbs up. And she says, oh, no, we're okay. We only have 6 people in here. So then your 4 would make the 10 max, right? But I could see in the interactions that everyone was having, we all were being mindful, wearing our masks, 6 feet apart, talking with each other, but yet being, aware of our space and everything. We weren't invading each other at all. So I think that, when any buyers that are going into a property maybe should just stop at the door, peek in like I did, and say, hey, is it okay to come in? Wear their masks, have their hand sanitizers out, or what have you, just so that we can all remember to, just as we're viewing homes, to keep ourselves, safe and, from, from everything.
Yeah, safety first.
Yeah.
We want to thank both of you for coming on and being a part of this conversation today. Maybe just, do you guys have any final thoughts as we sort of close out? Both of you, maybe we'll start with you, Suzanne, as sort of your recommendation to people who might be interested. I mean, what would your final sort of message be during this time?
I think, you have to look for the silver linings in everything. And certainly not everybody was up on virtual tour technology, but it has really caused our agents to put that at the forefront. And so now the messaging that we have, it's much easier for buyers. Go online, start doing your virtual tour, narrow down your home so that when you are going to go for your search, the physical properties that you're going to go into are reduced, and you kind of have a better idea. And that's been a great silver lining for people to sit on their couch on maybe Saturday or whatnot, go through, check out all the virtual tours of the homes, and really narrow down their search. So got to look for the silver lining.
Always. And if I may, I just wanted to say that everyone should not go it alone. contact a realtor. Your realtor is your guide to, home buying or selling, and they can help to walk you through the process step by step.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your insight, especially after seeing that headline yesterday. It's great to get a little bit of context behind those numbers. So thank you so much, Tricia Nekota and Suzanne Young from the Honolulu Board of Realtors. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Aloha.
Thank you for having us. Aloha.
Thank you very much.
And we again apologize for the technical difficulties we had at the top of the last go at this, but we appreciate all of you being here. Of course, we really appreciate Suzanne and Tricia, because I think that is really important. And there's so many factors here thinking about, the mainland and international buyers, the local buyers who may have lost a job or have a change in their economic circumstance. But fundamentally, they're right. There's just not enough supply. So we're not expecting that cratering of prices, even if individual, circumstances have changed.
I think it's just overall, we forget, just of every single industry has been impacted by COVID-19. I mean, just a simple thing such as open houses has had to really redevelop the way in which businesses operated there. So it's always great to hear how people are adjusting and getting updates in that manner of just how things have changed and evolved because of this COVID-19 pandemic and the far reaches that it's had. Of course, we always like to also talk about some of the headlines. Of course, one of the things that we usually start off the broadcast, but again, because of technical difficulties, we weren't able to, but we start off with our count usually, and we just had one new case as of noon yesterday, bringing the total to 676 positive cases in Hawaii since COVID-19 began here in the islands. Now, there have been no new deaths for over a month, unchanged at 17 was the last time that we've had a death, and that was back on May 3rd. So more than 95% of those infected have recovered. So those numbers actually going down after we saw those back-to-back days over the weekend with 9 cases reported. And we'll see if those numbers continue to hold. We talked to Governor Ige yesterday. He spoke about how these next few days will be important to sort of track as they sort of calculate some of these other totals based on the reopening of restaurants, based on those rallies that we saw over the weekend, and how that may have an impact in our totals. No doubt government officials will be watching those numbers closely.
Yeah, another headline in the paper, health officials are concerned over a decrease in patient visits. We've been talking to you this for weeks now. We've been having our Ask the Doctor segment on Wednesdays. We're having another one tomorrow, just about how important it is to reconnect with your primary care provider and any other specialist that you may see to get medical care, because, a lot of people haven't had contact with the doctor. They were maybe afraid about going to the hospital or afraid of going to a medical facility. And there's some serious consequences to that. The paper has a very interesting write-up about that. And tomorrow we are going to be hearing from a doctor from Hawaii Pacific Health, Dr. Sana Christopher, an interventional cardiologist at Palimomi. Cardiac care has really been something that we've been hammering home, because if you're having a heart attack, obviously you need to call 911. But, they've been seeing a real decrease of people going into the ER. So we're looking forward to that conversation tomorrow. And just as a little homework, go ahead and read that article so you'll be prepped for that.
Another good news, so to speak, one of the many openings, we're hearing of all these other places that are beginning to roll out new practices and new openings. One of those places, of course, a historic landmark here in our islands, Iolani Palace announces that they will reopen on June 19th with new guidelines. It was announced yesterday that it will be temporary. They've been temporarily closed since March, and there will be several phases in this reopening of the palace. And one of the things that will be happening is, of course, they have their self-guided audio tours. If you've ever been on board, ever been to Iolani Palace for those tours will continue to be available from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. On Fridays and Saturdays. There will be additional restrictions that have been sort of put in place, and tours must be done and booked in advance by phone or online by visiting iolanipalace.org. So good to see the palace reopening up. A great time for maybe locals to head on down there to the palace to take a look at some of the history. They've done a great job in sort of updating and adding some new things to that historic site.
Yeah, such a special place. So we do encourage you to get outside and Go check out the palace. Also want to tell you about today, our Hawaii Hero of the Day. The Kauai Care Center did something really special for residents there. They hosted an Aloha in Motion drive-by parade. Look how sweet this is for elderly residents there. Because of those visitor restrictions, a lot of our kupuna have not been able to visit with their families, and it's been a lonely time for a lot of them. So upwards of 30 vehicles lined up to honk and wave and show signs spreading messages of love and aloha. It was a very bright moment for these senior citizens who have been distant from their families for months. And the center there, the Kauai Care Center, is working on similar events sometime this month. Wonderful to see that. If you've got a Hawaii hero that you want to share with us, please let us know. Today, our Hawaii hero is the Kauai Care Center for all of their efforts to make their residents feel so special and loved.
Yeah, great to see that. And of course, we know that the kupuna are going to be one of the last groups that sort of have the opportunity to get out there. They are sort of hunkered down for the long haul here. And so anything that we can do to support them and find and highlight those organizations that do directly impact them will always be a hero in our book. So thank you to all those that continue to support our kupuna. Also important to note that the final food distribution at Aloha Stadium is actually happening right now. You can head over to hawaiifoodbank.org for more information. Of course, you can check out their social media handles, but we've seen those long lines over the past few months of people lining up. There will be other ways in which people will be able to get service with food. So for those who have relied on those food drives, we encourage you to head on over to the Food Bank's website for more information on how you can still benefit from those services, even though those Aloha Stadium distribution centers will be shutting down after today.
We mahalo all of you for being here this morning. We apologize again for those technical difficulties. We'll have that all ironed out by tomorrow. Tomorrow, again, we'll have the Ask the Doctor segment. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about a new economic recovery plan. A bunch of community organizations and different businesses all getting together to uplift Hawaii. That's the name of the program, and that's what they're hoping to do. And then on Friday, Ryan, I know something very near and dear to your heart, and that is the UH Athletics Director, Dave Matlin.
That's right. Not only me, but a lot of UH fans are looking forward to seeing some sort of return to normalcy and football season around the corner. Of course, Wahine Volleyball, we'll talk to him about how those changes are going to be implemented with travel of athletes and teams coming in to play the University of Hawaii, getting an update on some of the seasons that have sort of these seniors from last year, or this year, I should say, that are going to be able to compete again next season because of that NCAA waiver. All of that, we'll be excited to talk and get an update with Dave Matlin. Again, that is on Friday. So another full week ahead of us. Again, we thank our sponsors, the Hawaii Executive Collaborative and Hawaii Pacific Health, for allowing us to have this conversation with all of you. Thank you for tuning in and bearing with us. This is actually our first time that we ran into technical difficulties of this degree. So we've had a pretty good stretch. We were overdue for something, but thank you for sticking around and for being with us. Hopefully that won't happen tomorrow, and we'll see you right back here at 10:30.
Aloha.
Aloha.